For our next session, we're going to be talking about blockchain and its potential benefits for the health the insurance industry. So I think we have a panel of 5 people. Great. Brilliant, great guys. That's great. Do we have everybody here? I know we're slightly early, and this will be our last session before lunch at 12:30 as well. So I'll let Ashok introduce the panel, and guys, thank you very much.
Hey guys, so we have a panel here to talk about insurance and blockchain. So my name is Ashok. I'm with a company called Bluezell. We are a blockchain development shop here based in Singapore with an R&D center in Vancouver. So if you could actually introduce yourself, Mandi, right? Yeah. You've already done your introduction, so maybe we'll jump to Valerie.
Hi, good morning everyone. I'm Val, CEO and founder of PolicyPal Network. So PolicyPal Network is a decentralized insurance protocol. We started PolicyPal Singapore 2 years ago as an insurance policy management platform. Over the time, as user base grow, people started asking whether they can buy insurance policy. To do so, we had to get our license or partner directly with one insurance company. We didn't want to limit ourselves, so we went ahead to stay as an open platform. So we applied to enter Singapore Regulatory FinTech Sandbox. We became the first company to go into the sandbox trial period, graduated out of it with a license, and then today we work with about 16 insurance companies. From that experience, we found out about how the process is like working with the insurance companies and also the consumers. So we developed the blockchain platform to be able to optimize the whole process from the whole insurance claims process, which Mandi has already shared previously on the presentation, from the Lumen Light perspective. For us, we are neutral, so we work with any insurance companies. So recently we launched our partnership with FWD, Forward Insurance Company, and Ergo on automated flight delay claims. So other than that, we also provide Crypto Protect insurance that is underwritten by Munich Re from Germany. So ensuring crypto wallets, exchanges and smart contracts, which we see a great need in this space, especially yesterday, Bittime was being hacked again. Yeah, I move on to Vincent.
So hello, my name is Vincent. I work for Manulife in Singapore in the Innovation Lab, Loft. I've been working on blockchain since quite a long time now. Our topics cover a lot more things than blockchain only. So we spend time on blockchain, but also on multiple AI, all the buzzwords you can think about. We try to see if they're interesting or not. Blockchain has been the subject of many different use cases. Blockchain as an infrastructure, blockchain, public blockchain, private blockchain. We have done quite an extensive work on that. And that's pretty much it, yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Vincent, I mean, for you, as you are the tech person in the group, how are you facing off in the business and really getting the business to get buy-in on some of these solutions that you're coming up with?
So I would say that if you have asked me this question 1 year ago, there was a lot of curiosity and some kind of enthusiasm from the business because of all the news, values that was coming in. But as soon as January came and a lot of things like came down, I saw the mindset of the business changing quite a bit into more dubious attitude. So the work to convince them that blockchain could be useful for them is becoming more and more difficult, actually, than it was before. What we try to do is always come back to business value. So in terms of, obviously, cost, that's one thing, and also direct benefits. It's not always, our partners are not always actually business. The biggest interest we had was actually with the tech team and policy management that was probably the best, as well as compliance, who also has been very interested into the topic. Business, not so much right now. Yeah.
Is it because of the price of the Bitcoin, or what was the reasoning
I think
for the
people
change?
see, normal people who are not too technical see the blockchain technology still through the lens of cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
And so that was good 6 months ago, but now it's not so much a good thing.
Okay. For Valerie, I mean, how do you convince the 16 insurance companies that you're working with that your platform with blockchain is secure and it can provide all the functionality that a normal thing can?
Yeah, just to clarify, the 16 insurance company work with us on PolicyPal Singapore. So that's the existing business that we still operating at whole insurance broker license with SMFA. So on the insurance blockchain platform that we are building now, that's built on Ethereum. We partner with 3 insurance companies from Munich Re, Ergo, and Forward. We're onboarding more. So how do you convince the first 16 to come on board with us was quite a long journey. So we started in 2016 when InsurTech wasn't a word yet. I had to tell people that we're building an insurance policy management platform. Over time, as we gotten into the sandbox trial period, we managed to get 2 insurance partners to work with us. We did the trial, and then as we show the results in terms of people are buying policies online and how we are building APIs with different insurance companies, we started having new partners asking us, oh, what is this about? Can you tell us more? So I guess it's a follower mentality in the insurance space. A lot of times people say that insurance is the slower cousin of banking. So it's always 10 years behind. Every time the banking industry will move faster and insurance industry will just watch and see. But I guess it's natural because insurance is risk management, right? So to them, they always take it on as a very conservative mindset. However, things have changed a lot for the past 2 years. So from them not building an API, not comfortable having their pricing quotation publicly available online, to building APIs with us, and now translating from the PolicyPal Singapore business side to the PolicyPal network, where Ergo partner used to work with us on normal insurance products. And then as we bring value that they see, we managed to convince them to work with us on policy automation for any flight delay claims. So we onboarded another bank where we automate the claims process. So a customer who were to buy a travel insurance policy through PolicyPal network, they no longer have to file a claim if, let's say, the flight is being delayed, because it will automatically be paid to their bank account through PayNow. So all these other fintech development can also help the whole process for onboarding new partners, because back then 2 years ago there were no PayNow, so it make it very tough. So I think the whole ecosystem is evolving and growing, so it does help us to convince new partners. So from having Ergo, FWD, we have other partners interested to find out more. But at the same time, it takes a long process, which I guess Wendy can share as well. I know he has been working on his project for a long time. I know him for a while, since I first started PolicyPal, and I know that the whole process of convincing the business units is not easy, because a lot of times you're very used to, this is how I do my claims, all the questions that the compliance team is still going to start asking. How do I know that this customer, especially they buy a policy, they don't say that they're on every flight. They treat it as a lottery. So at any time of the day, they'll be on a certain flight, so that it could be delayed and they can actually get a claim. So we have to work out all the details, which took us a while. But I think that as long as we prove a useful case study, it can be replicated quite easily with other partners across, even outside of Singapore.
Oh, that's great. So I know, Mandy, you're talking about potential cost savings when it comes to operations on your experiment that you're running. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
two hypotheses we have, and I like to use the word hypothesis because it's still not proven, but early good indication signs. One is on the reconciliation process. Let's say we are doing a short-term health insurance policy, or we could just take the flight delay, any insurance policy, and there is a reinsurer along with it. If it has 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 policies, the reinsurer literally has a team spending a day to 2 days every quarter reconciling the premiums to be paid, the claims, and what's the balance amount. The moment you codify that and put it on a distributed ledger that's shared among the parties that they can visibly see that the claim payout is not manually decided, but decided by a rule based on a data feed that they can trust, that takes a lot of reconciliation process pain away. And that we would like to quantify at the end of the day of our experiment to see how many man hours were saved, and we could use those people doing much more brain-related work than just simply going line by line on Excel. So that's one cost savings we are looking at. The second one is literally building the platform. Now, there are a lot of softwares out there. Obviously, you have heavy build softwares from the likes of CSC, DXC, that insurance companies use that costs 8 to 9 figures, 7 to 8 figures. Then you have some software as a service providers who are disrupting that market, and they cost about 7 figures. The platform that we built cost us low 6 figures. Now, if we create that IP for MetLife as an innovation center, that allows us to create an IP for MetLife, and if, as I was saying, the platform works, then we have created a tech IP and an insurance company creating a tech IP that can be used in multiple geographies is something that we were created for. Lumen was created to create new IP for MetLife. So those are the two big cost savings, potential cost savings that we see if this experiment goes well.
Well, that's great. So your cap on your current insurance experiments or hypothesis is probably about $10,000, $15,000, right? How do you get them to move up to your life insurance policies, which could be greater, or your larger claims when it comes to larger health claims?
There are three parts to the question. The first way we hacked away with whatever the cap is, if the cap is much lower, is by doing the experiment in a country we don't have business. So we had to avoid a lot of the conversations Val was referring to because we just started with a clean slate. Second, the answer to your question is step by step. We don't go from a 2,000, 3,000 cap of the payout to a straight $2 million payout. Maybe we go to the next 10,000 payout, 20,000, and we slowly show at every iteration of the experiment that this is scalable. That's our mindset around test and learn at Lumen Lab. And hence, I think it will take time. Lastly, we also have this belief at Lumen Lab that the insurance world will change. The products of tomorrow do not look like the products of today. We might not be looking at 30-year, $2 million policies. They might still be there. But if you just look at ZhongAn keeps coming up with new products that hasn't been heard before. These are mostly short-term products, on-demand products. And such a blockchain platform is ready-made for such on-demand products. So the conversation to take it to 30-year term life will take some time, but on-demand, such short-term health insurance and general insurance products is much more adept for this kind of a technology.
Okay. Vincent, for you on your IT side, how are you trying to integrate some of these blockchain solutions with your existing legacy platforms?
So usually we start separately. Most of the project, of course, we start separately, and little by little, I think it's a lot easier on that. That's what we've been doing actually, to take customers and migrate or let them use the platform one by one. When I say customers, it could be outside customers, but most of our use cases were not for insurance directly, but more for either investment or simply internal use cases for reconciliation. So my point is customer by customer, and not trying to migrate, but more start in the new platform with the new rules, with the new policies, or with the new data. That was the working element of this project. If you start trying to integrate with old platforms, then you go into the problem of interrupting people in their business as usual, right. And also a lot of time go back to what they have to do for day-to-day, on a day-to-day basis. So it's very difficult to actually integrate in existing platform. So usually, yeah, just migrate the customer and go from there.
But Mandi brought up a point earlier about like CSC, like the policy admin system, right? So you got people like eBOW and SAP and CSC. Are they coming up with solutions which are helping you integrate blockchain into your platforms?
So I've not seen yet any solution that would actually fit the blockchain platform we are using. The problem is that the platform that are in place in Manulife today are not the latest solution of ISC or all these players. They are really very, very old solutions. So it's usually not suitable for what we have seen.
Okay. I mean, and the basic concept for insurance is, I guess, smart contracts, right? So when you guys are creating these smart contracts, I mean, are your conditions, you have a standard set of conditions and exceptions based on it, or how are you creating those smart contracts?
So it depends on the use case again. As I said, we have not too much work on insurance per se. So in use cases which are more about reconciliation, it's usually quite straightforward to implement the smart contracts because it's basically simply writing or triggering events on smart contracts. So we didn't have any much trouble defining the rules of the contract. For policies, we of course did the use case like everyone, I guess, flight delay, which was a very straightforward parametric insurance test use case. And we have not pushed yet the insurance policy concept.
Okay. So Valerie, on your thing, you've got flight delays, you've got some other products you're really pushing under your policy pal, right? What are some of the products that you're trying to get into in the future?
We're proposing a few new products, be it from flight delay to baggage delay, to parametrics insurance, such as weather, drought, earthquake insurance coverage, because that's an area where currently, like, the policyholders find it really hard to justify, like, or how can they get the claims. So because at any point of time, if let's say that there's a drought, how do they prove that? They need to ensure that they get a report that's approved to be able to receive the claim. However, if we put it on the smart contract and we connect it with the third-party trusted information, we are able to automate the whole process. On top of that, we can increase the volume. All these type of insurance products used to be less popular among insurance agents because, like, the premiums are very low. Manual work is really quite tedious for them to one by one sell like a couple of dollars of insurance coverage for the farmers, or like be it for the mass who are looking for such product at a low cost. So Mandi mentioned about the ZhongAn have rolled out on-demand type of insurance products. Normally, these products are short-term, and the policyholder urgently need it as soon as possible. But because of the gap, such as if I were to buy from an insurance agent, I would need to go and contact them, meet up with them. The whole process is very tedious. And for our side, we solve the problem by having both the mobile app and also building the whole backend system with the insurance company, and also like onboard the trusted source or like the data. Where can we get the data? Are we able to get weather statistics? So for us, each new product we launch, we have to look into which are the available data. So we are speaking to a health data provider, where we are looking to see how we can help in terms of automating the health insurance records and also the claims process. So products-wise, unfortunately, like as a company, you always like to say that, oh, this is exactly what you want to do. But in the blockchain space, you need stakeholders involved to be agreeable to share the data, unfortunately. So you have to work towards that. You take baby steps from flight delay to baggage delay to parametrics insurance, and eventually down the road, ideally the health records we are able to have access to. So in Thailand, they announced that they're going to launch digital identity. In Estonia, they already launched that. I was in Estonia early this month. So I saw that in a really small country, they are big in size, but small in population, only 1 million people. They managed to launch the digital identity and also health records on the blockchain, which actually help other healthcares and also insurance companies to able to retrieve information instantly. So it takes time for us to actually work towards a new product dependent on like the market movement.
Okay, I mean, you brought up a couple of points, right? So your point about replacing the agent. Now that you're kind of the intermediary between the insurance company and the client, I mean, are you using that to come up with new products and recommend new products to the insurance companies?
Yeah, so I have to say that we don't replace insurance agents. However, we offer an alternative channel
Right.
for the consumers to be able to get like insurance products where insurance agents are not interested in distributing. So that's serving a need out there because the type of products we focus on are things that like insurance agent might not feel that it actually worth their time to travel down to sell the policy, especially for travel insurance. So that part, so the question, is on the insurance agent. And what's the other question?
So basically, are you coming up with new products, which
yeah.
are kind of bringing back to
yeah.
Mandy's point
Yeah.
about new products coming out?
So new products wise, we work together with the insurance companies, either to improvise their existing product like the travel insurance. We add on the automated flight delay. We actually rolling out on the 2nd of July with our community. So we have done a token sale early this year. So we have a pool of like 20,000 community to help suggest new form of insurance products, and also we incentivize them if say they share any data, we reward them with any tokens and also any rewards. This way we are able to like have the data driven like suggestion towards insurance companies. If let's say we know that X number of people are looking for what type of coverage and how much they're willing to pay for. So this will save the whole hassle of like ideally insurance companies coming out and thinking what actually the consumers are looking out for.
Yeah.
Because the traditional way is always insurance company think of what the customer want, and then they ask their brokers, their insurance agents to go and sell it to the customers. My opinion is that if it is kind of like unfortunate thing, because they always think about what the agents can sell instead of what the customers are looking out for. So we want to change that approach by allowing our community, which are the token holders, to be able to suggest and also share the data that they have, and we incentivize them by like sharing some of the tokens back to them. So they are empowered to be able to create products and also like earn some money from there.
Okay, Mandy, on your hypothesis, what are some of the regulatory issues that potentially are come up and are addressed by blockchain?
What has come up mostly is around privacy, because our use cases are on the health side of things, and that's where it becomes tricky for the experiments we run. General insurance, that piece is much easier. Flight delay or a weather event is a public event. But a customer getting sick or some issues with the customer is private data. And handling that was the trickiest bit. Blockchain didn't solve any of that. Rather, as we were building, because we knew our platform would have a blockchain backend with the smart contracts in it, as we were designing it, we had to work with those constraints. So we went around and made sure that all the data on the blockchain is pseudonymized. So you cannot personally identify that data, but still work with that data for the triggers. and we kind of demarcated that the trigger is a trigger, and it's completely pseudonymous. So we don't know which customers we have to pay out for unless we go on a separate system where we take the hash and then we find out, oh, this is the customer and the bank account where we have to pay. So we separated that out. So I wouldn't say blockchain solved it, but because we were creating a system with these constraints, we came up with new ways of doing it. And actually, it was suggested by our privacy team, which actually makes the system much more efficient, because suddenly, instead of having one system that holds everything and having to have compliance, legal, and all the boundaries around it, we actually just demarcated the two separate systems.
Okay. And what about the data, right? So basically, a lot of the doctor's records are still on paper. So how are you going to get past that and bring it into the blockchain so that way you can actually use that data for your smart contracts and your experiments?
So we had to go and find the partner. So for the first 6 months, we were speaking to the government bodies here, and the uptake on that was not as promising as we had initially hoped. So we had to scratch all of that plan and restart from beginning, and then we went and found some private partners. So Volkswagen is our partner. Okay. There are such other private EHR players, and we see the trend happening where EHR is becoming a thing more and more. Now in the US, it has happened for the past 10 years. This year onwards, any clinic or hospital that doesn't have an EHR will get penalized. For the past 10 years, it was an option to go and implement it. Such things are happening in all countries. In India, they are looking at trying to make the whole country have a rule like the UPI, which connects all the payment gateways, how to make all the health records interoperable and all hospitals having records. Singapore, it's already there. It's just a matter of opening them up slowly, and that's also in the process being done by IMDA. And obviously, for our experiment, we partnered with a private player. With a private player, the conversations are a tad bit easier because the clinics are the custodians of the data. The electronic health record provider provides the technology. The owner is still the customer. So as long as the customer provides the consent on the first step of the app in terms of the terms and conditions, we are addressing that. The second is the clinic and the health record provider, again, custodians, know what use case is. And the beauty of the blockchain, as I was saying, it's not an open API to the health record provider. So I can't go and call any data as and when I want. Just not possible. Rather, the health record provider knows which specific data points for which customers who have already bought a policy and pushes only those specific data points as a snapshot in time, so not an open API connectivity over time, but a snapshot in time into that distributed ledger. That is the business conversation in terms of sharing of the data. And again, as I said, we pseudonymize the data, so everybody can see the data, but they do not know which customer's data it is, and it still works for the triggers. So that helped us have that business conversation.
Okay, and your underwriters are okay with looking at that data, or is a smart contract, which is really looking at the contract, the data?
So in our experiment, we are the underwriter as part of the sandbox. So we have the license, so we are the one selling the policy. The reinsurer, who are the 100% reinsurer, Swiss Re in this case, yes, they are comfortable. So we were in touch with their blockchain team in Switzerland, so they know what we are doing. And this is, I think, the paradigm shift happening. Before, lawyers would speak as to what the rules are, the product team would speak. The tech team would only be operational. Now the tech team is getting into play on day one, looking at the piece of code and saying, yes, these are the rules that you have decided on the contract. It's the same rules codified. So yes, we are good to go.
Okay. Now, I know in the earlier panel, I don't know if you guys were here, but they were talking about the consortium, right? It's basically sharing information across. So easier stuff for banks because you're just sharing demographics. But obviously in the insurance side, you've got a lot more data. Is there any talk of that, and have you guys considered how that's going to work?
So actually, we have been doing that, especially one project in an Asian country, sharing data among insurances. So all the major players of the market. And there are many use cases that as simple as the first use case that came up was blacklisted customers that try to cheat the insurance. Or as simple as we mentioned agents just now, there are so many agents in each of the countries, and some are good players, some are bad players, and it's beneficial for each of the insurance companies to actually share the list of these people. So that's what, actually, there's a really nice name for it. It's called co-petition, making cooperative competition. So it's beneficial for everyone to actually share these data to improve everybody's business. So because there's no point for any of the insurance company to actually not be part of this system. It will only bring benefits. So that's one of the, actually the 2 use cases that have been set up. It has been very, very difficult to synchronize between the different companies, and still ongoing, and hopefully it will go out somewhere at one point.
Okay. Right, go on.
In terms, we stayed away from the consortium side of things at Lumalab. MetLife is doing that out of US and a couple of other experiments on the blockchain. We just took our niche where, as I said, Lumalab's mandate is to create new IP. Given that mandate, we didn't go down the consortium route. We wanted to create a platform. But if you look at it, we ended up creating a very teeny tiny group of 3 stakeholders as a consortium to work together. And as we like the test and learn mentality. So if 4 of us can play together well and show some benefits, the idea and the hope is that the next iteration of it will have more players and more players. But the amount of time to set up a consortium, the rules of engagement within the consortium takes some time, and we just wanted to stay away from that because we want to diversify from MetLife's point of view. We are doing that in the US. Why do that? Why repeat that effort? And it is a great effort. So we chose somewhere else.
But in ways of customer experience, which is one of your big points in your presentation, it improves the customer experience for your customers if they have multiple policies across the board. They don't have to provide the demographic information again. How do you not become a part of the consortium to do that?
Again, as I was saying, it's part of the portfolio approach. So that is exactly what I guess PolicyPal's network is doing. And as that grows and as we are comfortable with the technology, we might be able to then plug into their network. And the conversation is not from zero. The conversation is where we have some experience of working on the blockchain and we join the table as equal parties in terms of knowledge sharing. So why repeat what other people are doing and do something separate was our thought process, but I think I'll leave you to that in terms of the consortium and sharing of data.
I think Singapore don't have any consortium, but I saw it in Taiwan. They have a Taiwan insurance consortium that's led by I think Fubon Life. So the insurance companies in Taiwan are all dominated by the local players. So Fubon and Cathay are the big players there. So it started by Fubon, and then managed to onboard like 6 other insurance companies to come on board. And now they are launching a claims process by onboarding I think 3 or 4 hospitals in Taiwan to be able to share the health records of the individuals among the six insurance companies in that consortium. But they told me that it took them about a year, but it was driven by the #1 player there. Therefore, I think that's like maybe a huge influence for the rest of the smaller players to come on to join. So I've spoken to B3I from the European side. So it's a distributed team. They are like in Switzerland, London, and all around Europe. So they started a while back. Same thing. They are still trying to roll out like the rules, the regulation. How do you ensure that this consortium is actually helping everyone? It's not for profit. Basically onboarding the right people. So like. I guess it takes time, and I asked if, let's say, there's any interest to come to Asia. They say, oh, they need to fix the Europe side first. So in Asia, there's no one driving it, but I think it would be great if, let's say, a couple of the insurance company come on, or alternatively, it could come from a third party like. Not sure if you've heard of this software called Merriman, or this company is owned by Silver Lake Technologies. So Merriman is the platform where all insurance companies use it to have access to all the car incidents in Singapore. So they are present in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Southeast Asia market. So every insurance company, if let's say they are selling car insurance, their claims department will have access to this software. to look into, oh, is this driver like having any safe records or any bad records? So all the information are shared among all the insurance company. So it could be driven from that perspective, but at the current moment, like most of the like partners we've spoken to, they kind of just want to like focus on their own stuff. So it might take a while.
Okay. I mean, all the stuff we've talked about today has been very much a customer-facing blockchain. I mean, have you guys considered anything on the internal side for internal operations processes where a blockchain can be useful and cost-cutting and improve customer experience of the operations team, internal operations? Yes.
So yes, I mentioned multiple times already the usage internally. In terms of cost cutting internally, I think it's very difficult to have a good use case for this because I think the main advantage of internal blockchain could be not at all about at least how we used it. The main advantage of using a blockchain internally was more to either share data among different entities in the company, but that could be done easily with a existing database.
Right, yeah.
Now that there are very, very good distributed database that can be set up. But the internal use case we have been interested in was actually the way you can easily customize smart contracts and keep the different versions of the smart contracts for policy management, for example. And I think that was the best use case for actually managing the different policies of the customers. So everything is kept internally. Nothing is shared outside, at least yet. But the point of keeping not only the data in a database, but also the contracts that are actually one layer above the data was very important very crucial to actually use the blockchain here.
Okay. Andy, you're saying?
Yeah, the examples are limited, very limited, as you're saying. The way the couple that we have seen is, if you look at insurance, you divide the customer side where you pay the premiums, but what do you do once you collect the premiums? You manage the money, just like the previous panel, which was on asset management and trade operations. Those examples that came on the previous panel, some of them will end up getting reflected at an insurer's end when you start imagining as an insurer who manages trillions of dollars. And when these insurance companies speak with other asset managers and then there are operations among themselves, that is where a blockchain solution could come up and help the investment IT team in terms of easing certain operational process. But I don't think, again, as you were mentioning, it won't get driven by innovation labs like us because we are that customer-facing customer journey. I've said claims, God knows how many times, it's an insurance panel, so apologies for that. But if you just think even of the claims, yes, it's customer-facing and keeping the customer at the center of it, but all the processes it's trying to streamline are all back-end operation process. Is the claims team saying we should pay a claim? Is the finance team that has to go and then close the books on that particular customer and then encash it, and then the money goes from the treasury to the customer's account? All of that does get streamlined. So it's not just customer-facing. We like to do that because if it's no benefit to the customer at the end, what's the point of doing it? But if you look at it, 90% of the work is back-end operations that ends up giving benefit to the customer.
Okay. What about robotics? I mean, I know some of you guys are using robotics. We considered like smart contracts as a replacement for robotics and a combination of AI. Too much?
Yes, I just have anything when it comes to around the blockchain and the smartness of it. It is process automation at some point, the smart contract code, but I stick with that. Anything when it says that will be combination of blockchain and machine learning and AI, blockchain itself is a heavy buzzword. Let's not mix all of them and sound very, very fluffy. So we have just stayed out of it.
I'm running out of questions, so I'm just trying to improvise. So, I mean, we have like 10 minutes left, so Anthony's got a question back there.
I can see Anthony's hand waving very, very high.
Do you want to put your R3 plug?
Thank you very much. A number of people coming up to me saying how hard it is to get insurance on crypto wallets. I indeed, a year and a half ago, had to get insurance on 25,000 Bitcoins. And that was really difficult and really expensive. So can you share a bit more about the products that you mentioned earlier on in the talk, please?
Thank you,
Or
Anthony.
perhaps you can't, I don't know, but it would be great to hear more about it.
I can share how we get it done. So since we got our license last September, I've been like approaching all the partners that we have and talk to them about insurance on cryptocurrency first. And I learned over all my meetings, never use the word cryptocurrency to insurance companies because they all feel like, oh no, like especially last September, the whole like market was growing so fast. So they were really worried, don't know what's going to happen. So what we managed to do and convince the like Munich Re to do is insurance coverage on the cybersecurity perspective of the crypto wallet. So we are ensuring that the wallet on the network system hack instead of the volatility of like the Bitcoin. So if like say I can't insure 10 Bitcoin today and then tomorrow I pay you 10 Bitcoin, all the sum assured is based on fiat currency. So if let's say I have a crypto wallet, we came out with a crypto wallet and then we need to do a tech audit by a third party, pass it on to Munich Re's team, their underwriting team will look into it, ask more questions. So it's still a B2B, a customized insurance product, and then we look into the security of like the technology, how much coverage. If today I get like 10 million sum assured, if I put 100 million, anything happen to the wallet, touch wood, I will only get 10 million. And whether it goes up or down, but unfortunately, because cryptocurrency, the past 9 months has been so volatile that it went up to 20,000 and then to 5,000 or less recently. It makes it really hard for them to fix the sum assured. So if let's say your assets inside is worth less than 10 million, then they have to do a dynamic coverage. Means that they can't cover you 10 million because as the policyholder, you are incentivized to hack your own account then. Yeah, because if it falls no less than 10 million and I can claim out to 10 million, definitely I want to hack my own account. So it has to be dynamic. So all these are like learnings over time as I meet different insurers, and then how do you actually piece like existing insurance products and combine it to make it like a cryptocurrency insurance coverage. So that's on the crypto wallet. And then so for the smart contract, what we are covering is on like business operations. So if let's say there's a token sale, if let's say the smart contract is being hacked and then all the money, all the Ether sent in is being transferred to another address, unfortunately, the insurance company will have to pay. But the insurance company will do an audit on the smart contract together with an audit partner before they can actually cover it. So if let's say the insurance company is willing to cover you, it means that like your smart contract should be checked like very, very thoroughly, right? So far, we only managed to launch wallet and smart contract. The exchanges-wise is a long discussion because exchanges always need a higher sum assured, and also their security level needs to be higher because recently there's quite a few Korean exchanges that are being hacked. Maybe partly because they accept fiat currency. That's why like the hackers actually attack them. I try to discuss that with insurance companies, but they feel that it's too high of a risk for them because they never know whether is it a real loss of theft for the keys, or is it because like the individual has already like transferred the money or something happened. But it's a really big problem to solve because that one also lead to unfortunate like death of any individuals that hold a lot of cryptocurrency, like who is going to take on the assets as well, who's going to like have access to like the private keys again. So I think that's a really big problem to solve. But so far the insurance companies, they feel that like the risk is too high, so they have been rejecting me. I'll keep trying.
To be honest, I don't think you can ever have an insurance on loss of wallet because it's very easy to prove that you have your private keys, but it's impossible to prove that you don't have these private keys. So I think the solution might lie in maybe a multi-sig wallet, maybe a wallet that is shared with an insurance or something similar to that. That would be the possible solution and save people from the trouble of or the stress of having to keep their private keys inside their books or whatever.
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree. Custody, probate, what happens to digital assets after death if it's people, or even in a business, it's if the server, if the hardware on which your private keys are contained dies. So very interesting, and I look forward to, I think every year things are moving, so look forward to hearing more about insuring digital assets. Thank you.
I have a question. I'm not from the insurance industry, but you mentioned a few times that exchange of patients' medical records between insurers and hospitals, or exchange of personal details for car accidents, etc. How do you deal with consent of those people in exchanging their very private information within a system or between different parties? How does it work?
I'll take on the health data side. As of now, the consent is simply on the first step. As part of the terms and conditions, it's there. But we have gone a step ahead, as I said. We don't touch that data. It's on the customer's mobile phone till the point they become our customer. Once they become our customer, yes, again, it's part of the terms and conditions to give us consent, but at that point, the privacy concerns are very limited because as an insurer, I can't service you. I can't provide what I've promised you to provide unless you give me the data. So the philosophical implications are also very limited because I, as an insurer, need to have a look at the data. And customers are very little concerned, regulators are very little concerned post that. It's before that, before the person becomes your customer, the insurer doesn't have the right to look at the data. So most traditionally, it's done through contracts, terms and conditions, you do a checkbox. But as I said, we went a step ahead. Before they become a customer, we don't see the data. We rather give our underwriting rules to them to process it on their phone. And if they're eligible, they make a payment. Once they become our customer, we only see the data that is required for the claims payout. And that's how we have addressed it.
So, I mean, at Bluezell, the way we share information of clients is we create a one-time password, which one insurance company or one bank can pass to the client, and the client passes it on to the primary insurance company that they have given the approval to share. So that way, the client is always involved in passing information from A to B.
Yes, listening this kind of solution, particularly the last one, I was thinking if an API-based platform wasn't better for this case of for these use cases, because it was simpler to manage permissions to access data, and probably better compliance with the GDPR, because as we said, we can give access, but we needed to remove access on a blockchain. So as a challenge, I would like to know if you really see an advantage to use blockchain technology, or it was even simpler to implement this, like happened for the banks with the PSD2 in Europe, to have a similar norm for insurance to expose the customer data using API by every insurance.
What I found out, yes, you're right, you could do that architecture, technological architecture to do it. Hospitals are way behind insurance companies. They are not going to expose any APIs. As I said, US, it's starting to happen because the regulations forced them to implement EHRs 10 years ago, and we might see that in 10 years' time. If you ask me from a technological aspect, not opening an API and sharing a bit of data on the distributed ledger is far better than opening an API. Because suddenly you're not exposing your whole server anymore. You have your own node. You are communicating with your own server, and you're passing, again, a timestamp of the data, not an open API connectivity, and that can be only pushed into the blockchain, can't be pulled by the blockchain, only for a certain amount of time and a very specific. So from an architecture point of view, that is actually a much better solution, for even from a security point of view, to do that. Although, again, I'll repeat, it could be done. The conversations that will involve compliance, legal, IT, to open APIs for hospitals, that to the insurance connecting to it, again, compliance, regulatory, legal at the insurer level, and then any other party that is trying to connect to the APIs, unless the government is driving it from a regulatory perspective, just not going to happen, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
And also to complete that, in the light of GDPR, I think there is one of the conditions is the customer should be able to delete its data in the company, or even, let's imagine, on the blockchain going further. I think it's probably where blockchain would be a technical limitation, because if you want to delete some data that are part of the chain, you will have to rewrite all the data that has happened after. So I think maybe, and it's probably going to come at one point of time, I'm guessing, it will not be only one single blockchain for all the data, maybe one chain of events for each customers that can actually be separated, segregated, and deleted, and basically leveraging more cryptography and some parts of the blockchain to be compliant with GDPR, which I think is pretty good.
Let me add on to that. It's a very well-made point. There are other implementations that could be GDPR compliant. One is, again, as I said, not having an open API connectivity is GDPR compliant, because you're sending a snapshot of the data in time, and hence it was when the customer gave permission, you pass the data, and because it's not an open API anymore, you can't pass any more data. So that is GDPR compliant. When you said in terms of being forgotten, the right to be forgotten, the way we implemented it is the right to be forgotten. The data on the distributed ledger is not personally identifiable. We have pseudonymized it. And that's the way we solved that solution, by saying that if you have a right to be forgotten, we can't even identify you in the first place, so no need to be right to be forgotten. And because it's not personally identifiable data, we don't have to go and delete anything on the blockchain, which you can't do in the first place, but we don't even have to do that. So that's how we went and addressed that.
So
Sorry, go on, please.
at Policy Pal, we also look into that area as well, because like the partners that we work with also have the concerns on like the data privacy. So like right now we build our testnet on Ethereum. It's private chain. Then people question, why do we have it on blockchain if it's private? But because we need to do a proof of concept with the insurance company, the key benefits of automation of claims, claims trigger, as well as information are shared among all the stakeholders instantly. So all these things we need to convince them. So we go on a top-down approach on looking into the business needs first before we actually try to solve the technology innovation part of it. So from building on a Ethereum testnet, our team is building our own blockchain by Q4. So we will fork from Ethereum and have our own private chain, such that it's focused on like data privacy, focus on insurance products, working with insurance companies. So down the road, we don't have the exact details. Why we do not have it now? Because we need to launch it and get the test result first before we can actually fork to have our own blockchain. So down the road, ideally, we have a solution to provide to your question on like how do we solve the data privacy, because like especially insurance products, on life products, health records are all very private. and sometimes you can evaluate the person's assets from the amount of life policy they have purchased, right? So people will not want the information to be publicly available because that can cause some moral hazards as well.
So a little bit of a shameless plug, but Bluezell has developed a decentralized database which allows you to store the data off-chain, and on the database you're able to actually delete the data when required. So that's where the industry is kind of headed. So you'll have a certain amount of data to be stored on-chain, which is on the blockchain, and then off-chain as well. That'll also improve your latency because when you have a transaction, they don't have to go through every single chain to process the information. Any other questions?
Question for MetLife. Which blockchain technologies did you evaluate? Which one did you end up choosing, and how did you get to that choice?
I'll try to be politically correct here so that, so I'll just tell you which one we chose. We chose the Ethereum open source protocol. We obviously created our private network using the same open source protocol. The reason we went that route is, crazily speaking, when we started, I wanted a piece of the blockchain to be part of the mobile phone. Can the mobile phone become a light client? There's only one protocol that allows that. It's called the LES protocol on Ethereum. Very early stage protocol. It only works on the private network, doesn't even work on the testnet. And we tried it. Our last year's POC was built on that. But because that protocol hasn't evolved, and hopefully will evolve over time, we stuck to that Ethereum protocol. And also we didn't have privacy concerns because all the parties in our private network has the right to see all the data, and we have pseudonymized the data. So given that concerns, we didn't have privacy concerns within the network, so Ethereum was much easier for us to go ahead and develop. But I believe the ability to put a piece of the blockchain on the mobile phone, the day that happens, where we can keep not just a hash, but some sort of a little bit of information that I can go to for any case of dispute, go to a court and say, I have that piece of blockchain in my phone, you can go and audit that. That's when the next leap of differentiation will happen, and hence sticking to Ethereum was more of a strategic choice in that regard. Lunch? Right. Thank you.
Thank you.